Hello, this is part two of the Retina Detachment story and what's been happening in my life for the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to pick up where I left off in part one. If you have not listened to part one, please stop this video and go back to part one so you can be caught up. Okay, so Wednesday I came back home from the doctor's clinic. Uh, I had another procedure on Wednesday involving lasering the posterior part of the top part of the uh, retina in my right eye. That went well, much like the operation on Tuesday. It just came and went fairly quickly and easily without any sort of complications. Couldn't really ask for better performance. Um, Got home that night. Eventually went to bed. Still had the bubbles in my eyes, but I was a lot calmer and more at peace Wednesday night than I had been on Tuesday. Uh, we had made an appointment to go back to the doctor in Albany on Monday. The appointment time was for 3:30 p.m. As of Wednesday night, everything was going fine. I had no real drastic concerns. I mean, I was still concerned about my eyesight, but I was a lot calmer, more at peace. I felt like I was on the down slope of this particular event, and I felt like that the worst had gotten behind me. And that thought continued on through the next day of Thursday and even into Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon, I went to get the mail. My mailbox at my house is located a significant piece away from the home, as I live out in the rural part of Georgia. I do not live in the city. So I went on a small walk to the mailbox Friday, did some things, had no real trouble. It was basically a very uneventful day, save for the fact that I had bubbles in my eyes, and I could see them. On Tuesday night, I remember counting the bubbles. I had, I think, around 11 on Tuesday night. By the time Friday came, I think the number was down to 4 or 5, if I remember correctly, maybe 6. So I had lost basically half the bubbles over the course of just a few days. The bubbles that were congregating around what appeared to be the lower portion of my eyeball. Went to get the mail Friday, came back home, did a few things on the computer, struggled with my eyesight, quite frankly. Spent much of that time Friday listening to various audio files on YouTube because due to the cataracts and now the retina detachment, by this point my vision was and still remains very, very poor. That is why I'm doing this audio recording. My plan was to do this on a blog with text, but due to my poor vision that I currently have, I decided to opt for an audio recording of this event instead. And that will continue for the foreseeable future. At some point, I hope to have a written blog up and active, but for the time being, I think all my posts and updates will come in audio format on YouTube. Anyway, Friday night came. Everything seemed to be fine. I got in my computer desk chair that night while dinner was being cooked, and I basically took a nap. And everything seemed to be fine as far as I could tell. And then about 30 to 45 minutes later, I woke up, and that began what I will consider the second phase of this whole drama. When I woke up, I noticed something that I had not seen earlier that afternoon, and that was on both sides of on the corner of my eye, the periphery, on on both the outside corner and also on the inside corner next to my nose of my right eye, I saw what appeared to be more shadows. But instead of coming from the top or the bottom, they were coming from, again, the sides of my eyes. The one on the far right side, the outside of my right eye, seemed to be the most prominent shadow. It seemed to be kind of a blackish gray in color, opaque, so I could see through it somewhat. Very noticeable, and excuse me. And once again, that just did not sit well with me. One of my biggest issues with all of this is I'm not a medical expert. So I don't know what's normal and what's abnormal. I don't know what's okay and what's not. And it's a not knowing that is almost as bad as anything. Because if you don't know what's a good sign or what's a bad sign, then any sign can potentially be something that could be bad. And if you don't know, it's that lack of knowledge that hurts. So this was Friday night. The offices in Albany had already closed. And I was told earlier that week, they said, Brad, from here on out, if you see any more shadows, don't even waste your time calling your doctor, your primary eye doctor. You just skip them altogether and call us directly. Well, the offices in Albany had already closed, so nobody was there to talk to by this time Friday night. So that left me with the after-hours phone number. And a little word about this clinic in Albany. They have offices all over the southeast. They have their primary office, I think, in Tallahassee, Florida. They have an office in Tifton. They have an office in Albany, Georgia. They have an office in Panama City. And I think they have offices in Macon, Georgia as well. Anyhow, I got on the phone and I called the after-hours number. Recorded message picked up. Took me to a mailbox. The mailbox was claimed to be full, and it hung up on me, so I could not get through. During this time, my family member that was in this house with me said, calm down, you're overreacting, just calm down. I wasn't ranting and raving. I was keeping my cool pretty well, in my opinion. I didn't lose my composure. I didn't lose my control. I mean, I wasn't shouting and going nuts. I would defend myself in that regard. But the stress level did go up. I won't deny that. Because, again, I'm not a medical expert. I don't know what is normal, what is not. I don't know what's a good sign or an okay sign or a neutral sign. So when I see another shadow pop up on my eye, I'm thinking, okay, this is bad news. So I don't call the number anymore. I basically, again, later on that night, I go to bed. I go through another range of emotions, concern, fear, anxiety, prayer, praise, hope. Try to walk in my faith, try to hang on to my faith. So again, I go through the ping pong ball of emotions again, trying to remain steady, trying to remain calm. I think for the most part I did a pretty good job under the circumstances. But it's like I was wondering, when is this all going to end? Things were going well. I was getting my vision back slowly each day. I call the off-hour number the next day on Saturday morning. I finally get a hold of someone on the other end. She and I talk back and forth. I tell her what's going on. She contacts a doctor. several text and phone calls get made behind the scenes between various doctors and technicians, assistants, etc. And I describe, exactly what's going on, exactly what I see. And the end story of that whole entire phone call is, don't worry, just continue to come see us on your appointment on Monday. Don't worry about it. However, if it does get worse, then go ahead and call back. So we hang up, say our goodbyes. I kind of get through Friday. I go back to listening to YouTube. At this point, I'm listening to a lot of YouTube videos on healing, Bible verses on audio Bible verses on YouTube, Bible verse quotes on healing and getting rid of diseases and illnesses and all that. Also continue to pay a great deal of attention to various YouTube videos of Andrew Womack Ministries, specifically a playlist of videos concerning his title, You Already Have It, which in summation is a video about you don't have to beg God to heal you. You've already been healed. The key is activating your faith and accessing that healing in order to get it to manifest into your physical life. And the purpose of listening to those videos and continuing to watch those videos as best I could was to figure out how exactly to do that. That was a bit of a search. And that search basically continued all throughout the weekend. Saturday night, the problem got worse. I called the off hours line again. First time, got the voicemail box, said it was full. They hung up on me again. I called back a second time, finally got the technician the second time, told her my situation, and it was the same technician or assistant from the morning hours. So she was familiar with the story. I said, look, it's worse. She contacted the doctor again and came back that time and said, okay, tomorrow morning you are instructed to drive down to Tifton, Georgia to meet the doctor at the Tifton office on Sunday morning. I said, okay, I'll be there. Hung up the phone. And all through that night, I basically had zero sleep. I basically stayed up till the morning hours. I tried to sleep to no avail. I eventually just got up, stayed up, continued to listen to the videos by Andrew Womack, which, to be honest, I think helped me greatly. It helped keep me steady and calm and filled with hope. Left to my own devices, if I had not had some information that I could cling to, that probably would have not been good. I was keeping my cool, again, going through waves where I would feel moments of peace and then moments of nervousness. But all in all, I kept my cool. So I'm proud of that in that regard. We finally start getting ready. Middle of the morning, it's still dark outside. We start getting dressed. We leave, I guess, around, I don't even remember when we left, to be honest. 6:30, I guess. Anyway, we leave. We make our way down to Tifton. By this point, I'm actually feeling pretty good. I'm calm. I'm at the point where I said, okay, God, it's basically in your hands to do with it as you wish, and I'm not fighting it. I gave it to him, and whatever happened would happen. So I'm actually in a pretty good mood by this point. Cannot see that well. Vision is very, very poor in both eyes. The left eye due to the cataracts, the right eye due to the cataracts, and the retina-related issues. Still at this point, did not have any official confirmation that the retina had become detached again, but I felt like that was a possibility because I was now familiar with the symptoms. So I kind of went in prepared to hear that as being a possible reason. We get there to the doctor's office a little bit early, probably 20 minutes early. He finally shows up. He was on time, so he wasn't late, so he did good. He lets me inside. It's just me and him, nobody else, no secretaries, no one else. Apparently nobody else called the helpline over the weekend. It was just me. So it was just me and the surgeon by ourselves, two of us, and the family member outside in the car. I did not even invite her in. When I saw him at the door, I just left her at the car and I went inside. Anyway, he dilated my right eye. He gave it time to dilate, which was probably another 15 minutes. He came back, sat me down in the exam room, and made what I was afraid he was going to make. The determination was, yes, in fact, there wasn't another detachment. However, this time, the detachment was at the bottom and not the top. And that is when he told me, okay, you are to go to Albany tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. You are to meet with some people at the local hospital, arrange the details for surgery, fill out some paperwork for surgery. He said, you have another detachment at the bottom, and this time we're going to give you the full-fledged treatment. Initially, there was some discussion that I might have to go to Tallahassee. And he made some phone calls to his partner. Come to find out, his partner on Monday was already scheduled to do 9 surgeries that day, and he was not going to have time for a 10th surgery with me. So the determination is that the surgeon that I was talking to Sunday morning, off hours, said, Brad, I'll do it, but I got to work here tomorrow. He said, I'll try to be out of here by 3 p.m. He said, in the meantime, I want you to go to the hospital in Albany, which in this case was Phoebe Putney, and arrange for having a surgery there. And then once you're done there, go to the clinic in Albany, see his assistant, fill out some documents there as well, and then go to the hospital again and start going through the prep procedures at the hospital, all of which I did the following morning. That night, once again, basically got no rest. Eyesight got progressively worse throughout the rest of Sunday and into Monday morning. By the time Monday morning arrived, the vast majority of my right eye vision was gone. By the time I would get to the hospital that afternoon for the surgery, I was probably down to maybe 1 or 2% vision, if that. At that point, well, I tell you what, I'm going to stop here. This is into part 2. I will pick up where they took me into the surgery on part 3. So this is will be the conclusion of part 2. So I will start part 3 in just a moment.